This is Vermont Edition. I'm Michaela Lafrac. Today we are kicking off a brand new, fresh out of the oven series. It's called 3 Courses with Vermont Edition. Those 3 courses, of course, are appetizers, mains, and desserts. You'll hear this series on Thursdays in the lead up to Thanksgiving. Today, appetizers. In my house growing up, we celebrated Thanksgiving, and the food you ate in the lead up to that meal was always such a huge family debate. I mean, you got to make it to the afternoon or the evening without fainting from hunger, but the chef in the family really doesn't want you to fill up on snacks before you even sit down. The appetizer is a delicate art, and we're going to approach it today with 3 folks with their own unique food traditions. In the studio with me is Nurbu Sherpa, who runs Sherpa Foods. They sell prepackaged Nepalese dumplings called momos and handmade sauces. You can find them at co-ops and markets all around New England. And he founded the company in 2015. Welcome to Vermont Edition.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're very glad to have you. And right next to you is Cara Tobin, the chef and co-owner of 2 Burlington restaurants that are focused on Middle Eastern flavors, Honey Road and the Grey Jay. She's been nominated multiple times for the prestigious James Beard Award for Best Chef in the Northeast. Cara, it's great to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and last but not least, from Montpelier, we have Pete Colman. He's the founder of Vermont Salumi, which makes all kinds of cured meats. Pete grew up in East Montpelier, and his business is based in Barrie. Pete, welcome.
Hi, Michaela. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and listeners, we hope you can join our conversation this hour, too. What is your favorite appetizer that you serve at the holidays? You can give us a call at 800-639-2211 or send us an email to vermontedition@vermontpublic.org. Now, I'm very excited to have all 3 of you as part of the conversation today because I know you each have your own traditions around food at this holiday time. Nurbu, you didn't grow up celebrating Thanksgiving. I know you don't normally have Thanksgiving food in your house, but you do sometimes go to Thanksgiving meals with family, right?
That's correct. So we don't celebrate Thanksgiving in our household in a sense that we don't make, the turkey, the traditional food, but we have, deep respect for all the cultures, all the traditions, and things like that. So the way we celebrate Thanksgiving is by, donating food to COTS or the South Burlington food shelf, just to bring food during the holiday time, just to spread some cheer. My family, actually, they do celebrate, in New Jersey. My sisters, my uncles, they do make all these Thanksgiving meal and all these traditions. So we travel down to New Jersey and celebrate with them. So yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the best case scenario. You don't have to make the food yourself, but you still get to enjoy it.
Exactly.
Cara, did you grow up having a big kind of traditional American Thanksgiving meal?
Kind of, yeah. But I grew up in California, so we didn't always have, not that I can remember, this has actually been debated recently within my family. I remember us having a big Dungeness crab spread.
Whoa. Cool.
Yeah, at Thanksgiving. But in more recent years, we do a super traditional. I like to put my little flair on it of Middle Eastern flavors, but these days it's a more traditional turkey and sides situation.
Wait, what's the debate about the crab meal? Are you the only one that has this memory?
I mean, I'm like,
it's
a
really
that's
specific memory.
It is, and I'm like, oh, that's what we had every Thanksgiving, and then my family's like, no, we did turkey, and I'm like, but when? I don't remember. And so we've kind of been going back and forth. Like, I remember the crab every year. I thought it was our tradition. And then they're like, no, we did turkey most years. And I'm like, oh, okay.
All right, very curious about this. We'll have to fact check it later with your family. And Pete, you were born in Italy, moved to the U.S. when you were very young. And I know you've celebrated some Thanksgiving meals back in Italy with your family. Were those like traditional American spreads, but in Italy, or were you over there eating prosciutto?
Well, just to clarify, when I was celebrating Thanksgiving over there, I was actually doing it with Italian-American friends.
Okay.
My mom moved there with people that she grew up with in the States. My dad and my grandparents, they would probably partake in a little bit of Thanksgiving, but you'd never see them cook it at their house.
Right.
I don't think I'd ever seen a whole turkey roasted there. But no, so what, the ones that I've had over there are definitely with Americans who would also invite other Americans and, the other Italians that seem curious about this other tradition that occurs in America. I feel like most Italians are a little more hesitant to try other ethnicities of food. But if it's American, I think there's a little bit of openness to that. And so, yes, it was more traditional. It was, turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, stuffing, all the goodies that you remember, and maybe an apple pie. But no, growing up here in Vermont, it was New England. I spent most of my life here, so it was always the classic New England turkey pies and stuffing and mashed potatoes and warm wood stove, raging in the background and feeling a little flushed by 6 o'clock. And yes, hopefully not being too overwhelmed by the appetizers that led into the meal.
Yeah, we're going to try to leave the turkey and those other big dishes for next week. Today, we're focused on the lighter fare, the appetizers, the dips, the spreads, the little bites that you can have to stave off some serious hunger before a big holiday meal, whatever that holiday may be that you're celebrating. Nurbu, I was very excited to call you up for this conversation because I personally am a huge fan of your momos. I buy them at the market in Burlington all the time. Tell us, for people who haven't had a momo before, what is it?
So momo is a very beloved Nepali dish. So if you ask any Nepali people, I would say 80% or even 90% of people would say, it's momo. Mm-hmm. So the national food of Nepal is lentil, rice, and curry and things like that. But momo is the unofficial national food because, everyone loves it. And there's also a joke in Nepal that, there's more momo shops in Kathmandu, Nepal, which is the capital of Nepal, than, McDonald's and Starbucks combined in New York City.
Wow.
You walk down the street and there's like 5 different momo shops, with different varieties and different sauces. They make their own fillings and things like that. So, momo, is like one of the popular meal. And nowadays it's kind of exploded, not only in Nepal, but outside of Nepal, in Europe, in the U.S., so it's getting a lot of popularity, especially within the specialty food category. I think dumpling category has been, outperforming in a whole. And within dumpling category, momo being the new kid on the block, kind of like a new item coming out. It's we're very excited, to have our momo, a Nepali product coming out and people recognizing and enjoying the food.
Yeah, well, Americans love a food to go, so I feel like this works very well. It's very self-contained.
Very easy, handheld. You can just eat it as an appetizer, snack, or even meal. Actually, Nepali people in Nepal, they eat it as, for the breakfast, lunch, dinner. Mm-hmm. And we've been trying to make a breakfast momo a thing here in Vermont.
What do you put in it?
No, you can just
eat it.
Kind of like,
okay.
Yeah. So kind of like, I've
it's
always
like a steak and egg.
Right.
Momo.
Yeah. I always felt like, momo had the same potential as, sushi or, burrito or taco, right? It's very easy, handheld, so why not, if they can do breakfast burrito, why not breakfast momo?
I love this idea. And they come, your packages of momos come with a dipping sauce.
Correct.
Yeah, can you tell us what goes into that?
Correct. So so momo is a little bit different than other dumplings in a way, the ingredients that we use and also the sauce that we use. So majority of dumplings, they usually go with soy sauce, as you have seen in the market. So Nepali momo usually is eaten with a tomato-based sauce, kind of like a hot sauce. And we started putting those in our packages when we first started out supplying to stores, and we didn't have a standalone sauce at that point. But our customers and stores, they started asking us, hey, our customers are loving this momo sauce, which is Himalayan style hot sauce. Can you make them, as a standalone product? So we decided, why not? So we started doing our momo sauce in mild, hot sesame and maple flavor, and now it's as a standalone jars all around New England, including Whole Foods.
Yeah, I feel like if you have a business in Vermont, you're kind of contractually obligated to incorporate maple into some item you sell.
To pay some homage to Vermont, ingredient, right? So.
Right. Okay, so the momo is, I think, a great idea for an appetizer to a big meal. It could also be a meal in and of itself, but if you're serving it as an appetizer, you have your little dipping sauce next to it. It's a great way to graze. Cara, hearing about the momo and the sauce that that Nurbu is describing, does that bring up for you any kind of similar dishes that you all are selling at Honey Road or Grey Jay?
Like little pick them up and eat them,
pick them up
sort
and
of
a little
things.
and one little dipping sauce.
Definitely. Like, well, maybe not dipping sauce, but at Grey Jay, the deviled eggs, which is always a big one. I feel like for us, on Thanksgiving to have as a little appetizer out.
How do you all do the deviled egg?
Grey Jay, it's a Tunisian inspired deviled egg, which basically it's a lot of capers. And it's spicy, which are two things that can be sort of prevalent in Tunisian food. And so it's a harissa caper mayonnaise that we mix with the egg yolks that go into the deviled egg, into the little eggshell. And then it's topped with fried capers, more chili, and then some fresh herbs.
Nice. You get a little crunch. It's not just the same texture.
Crunch, yeah, but it's spicy and salty and everything you want in a deviled egg, I think.
Yeah.
And then at Honey, we have the dolmas, which have become a classic menu item.
One of my favorite things on your menu.
I will be honest, when I am there in the evenings, that's what I usually eat.
Tell us what goes inside the dolma.
So the dolma it's a grape leaf dolma. It's filled with lamb. It's a local lamb from East Corinth, from Tamarick Lamb Farm. And then rice, and then a mixture. We cook down onions and fennel and garlic, orange juice, pepper paste, spices, and we mix all that together. We roll it up in these little grape leaves into little dolmas, and then we bake them so that I like it because the grape leaves get a little crispy. So you have the soft, sort of tender inside of the lamb and the rice, and then you have this crispy grape leaf on the outside. And then it's served with a mint labneh, which labneh is like a very strained yogurt, sort of like a Greek yogurt, but thicker. And it's mixed with dried mint and a little honey for sweetness. And then the whole thing is drizzled with chili oil because you got to add a little heat to it, of course. So that's a great finger food too. They're a little messy, but I eat them with my hands. So.
All right, Pete, get it on this finger food conversation with us. We're talking about something you could pick up, maybe dip into a sauce as a little appetizer, grazing food. What's this bringing up for you?
For me, most of our meat products, I get a little scared if someone says dipping them, just because that's my personal, it crossed a little bit of my own personal comfort zone. But I think it's
that's
more
fair.
important for everyone to experiment a little bit on Thanksgiving. It's a day to relax and enjoy food. So if you want to try dipping some of the meat products we make, go for it. I don't love it.
Just don't
so
tell
we make
you.
And I hope it makes you happy. We make a variety of fresh sausage. We do a couple ham products, which we call prosciutto cotto, but essentially it's a cooked ham similar to like an American traditional maple, and we roll on with herbs. And then we do a kind of a range of dry cured products that are much more traditional to Italy. So that's capicola, bresaola, lonza. Bresaola is beef, lonza and capicola are both pork, coming from the neck and the back. And then we have a range of salamis. So yes, those make for all really good finger food. We sell them pre-sliced, or I think it'd be hard for you to get your hands on them whole. But I think having a range of kind of different textures and flavors. So some of the salamis have a lot more seasoning in them. Some of them have less, allowing you to kind of play with those. I think surrounding them with bread and other things are really important. I kind of look at the charcuterie board or the appetizer plate as similar to most food, where you kind of want a mix of fatty, salty, sweet, your like base carbohydrate, and some acid there. And I think what's interesting, I think you could take our products, and also I think the textures are all really important too. So kind of like the dipping in spreadables, like a hummus, I think it's good to incorporate some harder cheeses, some softer cheeses. You got the meats, they can come in like some that are more seasoned, some that are more plain. And then even I think some of the the K-Sherpa's, the dipping sauces would be great to even incorporate, because I think something spreadable or dippable is really good to have on that board, and even a couple, so getting that mix and then allowing your kind of guests to play around with it is, I think, half the fun. And I think there's an ability to, introduce people to some new things, like, getting creative and using some of the Sherpa sauces as incorporating them into your Thanksgiving, but also read the room, and you probably don't want to go too wild. I think people want to be really comfortable and just kind of hunker in on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Nurbu, that makes me wonder about the spice level in your sauces. Do you feel like the New England customer base can handle the same level of spice as folks in Nepal, or if you had to tamp it down a little bit?
So when it comes to heat, I feel like it's very subjective. My hot is not the same as your hot, and obviously the Nepali people hot is way up there, even more hotter than I can tolerate.
Really?
But sometimes it kind of surprises me. Even so, we do farmers market in Burlington. So we meet some customers every now and then, and they tell me this is not hot enough. So it's very subjective. But in general, Nepali hot is really, really, it's up there. So we kind of tone it down a little bit with our sauces. So that's why we have different flavors. We have the mild, the hot, the sesame and maple, trying to make sure, we are able to have, different types of heat level for different folks. So, yeah. And thank you, Pete, for giving us a shout out.
Well, we're talking holiday appetizers as part of our new food series with Peter Colman from the cured meats company Vermont Salumi, Cara Tobin of the restaurants Honey Road and the Grey Jay, and Nurbu Sherpa of the Nepalese food supplier Sherpa Foods. We had to take a quick break, but we're going to take some of your calls and ideas for your own favorite holiday appetizers when we come back. If you have an idea, you can call in at 800-639-2211. Stay with us.
Thanks for listening to Vermont Edition, where support comes from UVM Cancer Center, sharing that November is Lung Cancer Awareness Month. Learn how lung screening can save lives at vermontcancer.org.
Welcome back to Vermont Edition. I'm Michaela Lefrak. Today is the first in our 3-part November series on holiday cooking. Next week, we're going to focus on main courses, and the following week, it'll be desserts. Today, it's appetizers, from dips to dumplings. Our guests are Pete Colman, the founder of the cured meats company Vermont Salumi, Nurbu Sherpa, the founder of Sherpa Foods, which sells prepackaged Nepalese momos and sauces, and Cara Tobin, the chef and co-owner of 2 Burlington restaurants, Honey Road and the Grey Jay. You can join the conversation too. We're collecting recipe ideas for appetizers to serve at big family meals or winter gatherings. I really want to make a big list on our website that you can rely on this winter. So help us out by giving us a call at 800-639-2211, just like Rick did. Rick is in Heinsberg. Go ahead.
Hello, Michaela.
Hi.
This is Rick Polari here, and I wanted to kind of add to that conversation about when someone from another country thinks of Thanksgiving. I was over in England on tour, and a friend who was helping me out came over to here in Heinsberg in July and wanted to experience a Thanksgiving. Not knowing anything about what that takes. He said, can you just whip up a Thanksgiving dinner for me? And I called all of my friends, because we usually host a Thanksgiving, but it was July. And I said, I have this special friend who's coming over, and he wants to have Thanksgiving. And so everyone, they jumped to it. Everybody got together in the middle of July and made everything from turkey to all of the different types of entrees, and it was an amazing, amazing moment.
That's so special. And I love the chance to get to have some of those foods out of season. I know we like to talk a lot about seasonality, but sometimes it can be kind of nice to have like a big, heavy, starchy meal in the middle of summer or a really nice light salad in the dead of winter. Let's talk, though, about some of those seasonal ingredients that you all use. Cara, when you're thinking about some of the special dips that you make, do you feel like there are any that rely particularly on some of those fall or early winter ingredients that we're seeing come out of like our farms and local businesses?
Yeah. Right now at Honey Road, we have a dip that I usually bring on every fall when pumpkin, butternut squash, when those sorts of vegetables come into season. It's whipped goat cheese, which is it's kind of two dips in one. I do a whipped goat cheese. It's a Vermont Creamery goat cheese, of course.
Shout out.
Yep, shout out. And then I take either pumpkin, like a pie pumpkin, or a butternut squash, or a combination of both, and I whip that up, like I roast it and puree it, and then so on top of this whipped goat cheese, a little dollop of this whipped pumpkin squash situation, because the sort of tartness of the goat cheese and then the sweetness of the pumpkin or the squash pairs really nicely together, and then I drizzle that with chili crisp, because spices.
Everything's better with chili crisp.
Yeah, everything's better with chili crisp. But can I also just say that I think the thing about Thanksgiving that's, aside from, the gratitude and all of that, and I think for me, I love it because it really plays into especially what Honey Road does in this sharing of a meal with people, bringing people together, sharing a meal, that's so food focused, which to me and someone in hospitality that's what it's all about. I mean, this is what, people that love food and love people and love gathering together. This is like, why can't we have this holiday more often? Like, can we have a summer Thanksgiving? Let's do this more, because I think when you gather people around food just makes people happy. And then, when you're eating, you're happier. And it just creates these experiences that really make you remember what life is about.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Rick, your July Thanksgiving idea, I think it has legs. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Pete, I'm sure this speaks to you too, coming from a big Italian family with a lot of food traditions of your own. Now, I know Cara just mentioned Vermont Creamery, beloved local cheese company, and what pairs better with cured meats than cheese? Are there any particular cheeses that you love that are from this region, maybe ones that you sell in your shop in Barrie?
There's a few. There's an aged provolone, and we get a couple. We get some aged Goudas that come in this time of year. Those are actually all imported, which I feel bad. There's a lot of the local ones I love. I like any of your firmer cheeses, Alpine styles, with cured meats. I don't tend to like things that have a lot of funk or strong flavor as well. I kind of like a more clean flavor. So even cheddars work really well for me. But that's my preference, and I think the fun about Thanksgiving and just the feasting in general is just to use it as a time to explore what makes you happy, because what makes me happy and my taste buds happy don't necessarily work for everyone else.
Yeah.
And then so I think you can add some of those bries or like any of those spreadable cheeses, but I tend to like a little bit firmer, cleaner flavored products to match with charcuterie, and then pulling in the right beverages as well. Clean, crisp wines or even non-alcoholic drinks are nice. I don't like anything too big or bold. I like to match and work, and having a few other things on the plate. The spreads, I think, again, are great, and acid of some sort, whether that be pickled veg or even fruit like grapes and slices of apple work really good. Yeah, it's kind of my mix, but also, again, just take the time, celebrate food. I think it's also a good place to be comfortable with people, but also push them a little bit. So don't you want to make, if you've got a very classic New England family, you might not want to pull out to anything too wild, but also with other friends and family, you might know you can get a little more creative.
Nah, I say dump the chili crisp on everything. Just shock everyone into liking it. We were talking about cheeses, though, and Nurbu, I'm curious what role cheese plays in Nepalese, traditional Nepalese cooking. Are there certain types of cheeses that are popular there?
So cheese as in like just standalone cheese, not very much, but there are a lot of dishes that we use a lot of cheese in. And actually the Thanksgiving, one of the meal that reminds me is the mashed potatoes. I really love mashed potatoes and I eat them year round because it reminds me of this Sherpa dish or Nepali dish called Nido or Rildok. So it's kind of like a flour or mashed potatoes stirred in a boiling water and made into a dough, which is paired with a soup that is made with cheese, actually a blue cheese with cilantro.
So that is
salt.
That funky cheese, a little different than what Pete was describing.
Yes. So, and it just brings the whole taste together so well. So that's one of my favorite meals.
That sounds delicious, and like a really cozy one for winter. Too.
Exactly. Yeah. It keeps you warm. It's very hearty. Yeah. And also, going back to just a gathering and talking about, Thanksgiving, sharing meals, it just reminded me, kind of Momo has the same kind of feeling in Nepal because nowadays, social media, everyone can, see each other's photo, meet everyone online. But in the past, in Nepal, people that hasn't seen each other or met each other, in a while, when they come together, the first thing that they want to do is make Momo because it's a very communal, kind of like coming together, working, someone kneading the dough, someone chopping in the vegetables, onions, and things like that, and just catching up while you're making Momo, hey, how's your life, what's going on, cry over any, anything that happened, laugh over any, joke. So things like just bringing people together. So kind of Momo used to kind of like, it's that kind of comfort meal in Nepali household, in, Nepali culture.
Yeah. And I know a lot of folks feel that same way over a big like charcuterie board or grazing platter, something you can kind of stand around and take bites from, and also keep the conversation going and chat and catch up. And to tell us a little bit more about the art of putting together a great grazing platter, we have Taylor Bodette calling in of Taste Vermont, which is a local catering company that specializes in charcuterie and some of these grazing platters we're talking about. Taylor, thanks so much for calling in.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, okay, so let's start briefly here with cheeses, because that's what we were talking about right before you joined. Do you have some favorite local cheeses that you use when you're building a charcuterie board?
Yes, it's so funny that you're just talking about cheeses, because I was sitting here and I was like, oh my gosh, I love Vermont Creamery's goat cheese. They have some awesome flavors. I really love, they have a blueberry, lemon, and thyme. It's pretty bright and summery, and then they have like a cranberry orange and cinnamon, and that's like perfect for like a fall and winter gatherings. And I think, you guys did talk about the extra sharp and the cheddar cheese from Cabot. That's definitely a fan favorite for sure. Everyone always loves that whenever I put that on a board or a grazing table.
And Pete from Vermont Salumi talked to us a little bit about how he puts together a charcuterie board. What are your strategies? What kind of balances are you looking for?
It's so funny because when I saw that he was on the call, I was like, I love that because I love to use I really love the red wine and the garlic that I put on the boards. But, honestly, I think one thing when it comes to meat, something that people love is the salami roses. So you take the pieces of salami and you roll them up and you make them look it's a beautiful piece, like accent piece for any board or any table that people are grazing on. It's just something that they really seem to love. The prosciutto's great. Anything from Pete's Place is great, honestly. I heard him talking before and I was like, I got to get in there. Every time I do in the good board or something like that, I always try and add that in because it's something local, something from Vermont, and people just love it.
Pete, you got a fan.
Oh, thank you so much for the shout out. I also think, you could throw sausage on a charcuterie board, or even, I think about even for Thanksgiving, like throw bacon. We talked about this, Michaela, a little bit. Just cook up some bacon, leave it. I wouldn't do it too crispy because I like a little chewy bacon, but I think also that just fits in so well with that New England fall feel. Any smoked kind of sweet meat would work really well as well.
I don't know. I have zero ability to control myself around bacon, and if I'm trying to not eat a ton right before a big meal, you should not put me in a room with bacon because I will finish it. Taylor, one of the things that I love looking at your charcuterie boards is just how like visually pleasing they are. They're real easy on the eye. Do you have any tips for folks who kind of are thinking about maybe creating a charcuterie board ahead of a big family meal they're having and want it to look a little better than just like a bunch of big piles of food on a cutting board?
Yeah, that's a great question. And whenever I go, set up a grazing table, sometimes people will say, like, how do you know, like, what to put next to each other and how it should look? And, I just tell them I've always been a super creative person. And I just, when I get to where I'm going for the venue, I lay it out. Like, I don't ever pre-plan anything. I just go with it because it's really a creative, it's like an outlet, really. It's a creative piece. But even for someone that's not, doesn't think that they might not be creative, I think if you start with the color and you look at the texture and the balance that you have, you want to be able to get things that are creamy, like the goat cheese, and crunchy and sweet and savory. So, especially something if you're making it a day ahead of time, or something like a quick trick would be, don't put anything that has like a juicy, like an orange and pineapple like that, or put it in a bowl instead of doing something like that. And then pairing some different kind of meats in different areas of the tray. So maybe on one side you have some prosciutto, and the other side you have a couple, salami roses, and maybe you layer the Cabot cheddar cheese. And even the goat cheese is really cool. You can take it apart and you can ball it up and have it in little balls on the table, or you can cut it and you can kind of layer that down throughout the board. So there's a lot of different kind of ways that you can go about it instead of just piling things. Like you said, you can kind of if you can get the texture and the balance that you're kind of looking for with the foods that you have, you can kind of pair them perfectly together to make the visual aspect kind of pop.
I love that idea of balling up the cheese and then also making like roses out of the cured meats. That sounds lovely. Taylor, before we let you get back to work, I would love for you to weigh in on what we were talking about earlier, which is ideas that we had for other little grazing items, finger foods and dips, things that people can snack on ahead of a big meal outside of a charcuterie board. Do you have any favorite dishes like that you serve with Taste Vermont?
So I think some things, of course, you guys were talking before, and everyone has their own palate. So it kind of depends, like, if you're going to a family function, like, sometimes you could kind of go a little more, or sometimes you have to go a little bit more basic depending on it. But something that I really love is an antipasto, and it's paired with, like, a bruschetta or something like that. You could have it on the side as, like, an appetizer ahead of time. That's, something you either love that or you hate that. But I think that that's something, or, like, just some breads and different dips like that. Some of those things you'll find on the board, but I think those are a couple of things that you could do ahead of time, and it would be a asset if you were having a charcuterie board or a meal after.
Taylor Beaudet runs Taste Vermont, a local catering company. Taylor, thanks so much for calling in.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too. All right, we have to take one more quick break here, but we're going to keep talking appetizer ideas when we come back, and we would still love to hear from you. If you have ideas for dips, maybe a local cured meat or cheese that you really love to serve, give that business a shout out. Call in at 800-639-2211 or email vermontedition@vermontpublic.org. Stay with us. Welcome back to Vermont Edition. I'm Michaela Lafrac. If you're just joining us, this is the first in our 3-part November series on holiday cooking. Today, we're talking appetizers. Our guests are Cara Tobin, the chef and co-owner of Honey Road and the Grey Jay in Burlington, Pete Colman, the founder of the cured meats company Vermont Salumi, and Nurbu Sherpa, the founder of Sherpa Foods, which sells Nepalese momos and sauces. Nurbu, I'm going to out you a little bit. You just said in that break that your stomach was growling because you hadn't had a chance to eat much yet today. And I feel like this probably happens a lot with the people who are in charge of cooking, is that they don't eat themselves. Does this happen to you a lot?
Yeah, when you're focused on your production and try to make sure your orders are out, you're running around trying to get those sales calls and meetings. Sometimes you forget to eat. Take a little bite, little snack, and every now and then. So that's what happened to me this morning.
It's ironic. Cara, does this happen in the kitchen for you a lot too?
Yeah. Yes. It's actually something that I am trying to work on, is eating more consistently.
Yeah.
Because you get running around and you're, doing a million things. And even though the food's right there, you just forget.
Right. Do you taste as you go, as you
Yeah,
cook?
absolutely. But it's not enough. It's not like a whole
make.
meal. No.
Yeah.
So, yeah, trying to actually remember to eat is like on my daily list.
Mm-hmm. Pete, does this happen to you too?
No, not really. No, well, I think Cara's job for me would actually be really challenging because I would eat the whole time. I would have my hands in the dip all the time.
Nothing would go out to the customers.
But we're this doesn't sound as sexy, but we're kind of a manufacturing company essentially. So we're kind of in a line and we're doing repetitive tasks. But we stop on our production days with the crew, we stop at 12 to 12:15 and we all sit down and have lunch together for about half an hour to 45 minutes. And that's part of what we do. That's part of the day, just to get everyone to get a pause, sit down together and take that break. And I think we did it growing up on my family's farm. And even when I worked in Italy with a bunch of with the producers there, they always stopped and someone's wife would make a lunch for everyone. And I always thought it was a great part of the day just to get out of the production room, get away from the desk, and go sit down and have a meal.
Yeah. Nurbu, when you're cooking, when your business is focused on this particular dish, momos, do you get tired of eating them, or do they always are they always appealing to you? You could always have a momo at any time.
So I've been eating momo since I was a little kid,
yeah,
and I never get tired of momos. I can
great.
eat momo every single day. I mean, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if I could, but no, I never got tired.
Well, we've been talking about food for the past 45 minutes, but it's both a very apt time to talk about food. We're hitting the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, but it's also a really difficult time of year for a lot of folks in our region, including, I imagine, many folks who are listening right now. It's been a particularly tough week around food, too. About 65,000 Vermonters rely on SNAP benefits to buy food, but because of the government shutdown, they didn't get those benefits as they normally would on November 1st. Now, you might have heard that households that qualify for 3 Squares Vermont are supposed to get their benefits tomorrow. But in the meantime, to keep people in our region from going hungry, there are a number of organizations that help connect people with food insecurity to pre-prepared meals or with groceries. Cara, are there places in the region that you try to support through your restaurants or just personally that do this type of work?
Yeah, I usually, I have 2 kids, and whatever their school tells me, right now they're doing a food drive for the holidays. So anytime when they start to mention that, we always make sure that we donate. And then through the restaurants, we typically donate to any turkey drives, because if we order turkeys through the restaurant, I always order extra, and we donate to the turkey drives. And then pretty much anyone who comes at us at the restaurants and asks, we try to do as much as we can, not only around the holidays and this time of year, but all year long. Anything that we can do to give back to our community, we try to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Pete, how about you?
We've got a small shop attached to our aging facility, and out front we tend to do a free bin, which is just very hyper local. And we just actually are about to launch a catering program from that same business, AR Market, and we're going to donate 20% of the proceeds in November to the food bank. There's the Salvation Army behind us, so we also have product that's getting close to code for Vermont Salumi, and we'll bring it over there as well as the food bank. And just try and keep a little bit of an eye on our neighbors. We all live in small towns, and you can usually identify a handful of people in your area that you can tell are suffering from food insecurity, homelessness, whatever, mental illness, and sometimes just touching base with them and seeing if they need anything goes a long way. But everyone's got some of these organizations in their community, and I think if we can, as business owners or civilians, it's a really important time that we take the step, because we can't always rely on the federal government or the state to solve all of humanity's problems.
Yeah. It comes down to the individual a lot of times. And Nurbu, you mentioned earlier that you and your family have a tradition of bringing food to COTS, which is a Burlington-based organization. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So we founded our business around four core values, kind of like four pillars, so to speak. You got to have a great product. That's one. You have to have happy customers. Number two, you have to have a great staff. You got to treat your staff as your family. And the fourth, we always thought the community engagement was very important. Where you work, where you play, where you live, you need to give back a little bit. So when we moved up here from New York City, actually, before we started this business, we were looking around trying to see, what kind of nonprofits were out there, and any nonprofit that kind of aligned our principles, and we found COTS, which is Community on Temporary Shelter. They help people, kind of break the fall, help with, homelessness, and we felt like home means safe space for everyone, right? It's kind of a dignity. So we really like that mission. So we wanted to support that mission. So in 2015, when we launched our business, we partnered with them, started donating our some percentage of our sales from our Sherpa Foods, as well as the Burlington Farmers Market sales, and we also try to incorporate nonprofits, South Burlington Food Shelf and others, in any of our successes or any celebrations, any adding a new account or our kids' birthdays and things like that. We try to see, if we can just, bring a portion of our success and happiness to those nonprofits as well.
Yeah, that's part of the magic of, as Pete said, living in a place with lots of small towns and tight-knit communities. There's lots of ways to stay connected, and it's good for business and good for people, right, too. Well, let's go back to the phones here. We have Jeffrey calling in from Albany, Vermont. Jeff, go ahead. Jeffrey.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. This is an awesome conversation. And I didn't know if anyone's talked about mushrooms yet, but they're available locally year-round and seasonally. But they're excellent vegan option. I'm a carnivore or an omnivore, but I cook. We're mushroom growers, and but roasting like oyster mushrooms or shiitakes, just a little salt, pepper, oil. It's magic. Like high heat, like 375, 400 for like 10 minutes or something like that. Rotate them, and you can make like mushroom bacon, which is really addictive. Make it just like bacon with a little maple and salt and pepper at the end, like after you roast them, toss them. And you can also make like mushroom pâtés. Those are really delicious, super simple, like the roasted mushrooms. Throw them in a, Cuisinart, a food processor with some garlic, salt, pepper, a little bit of oil, some parsley or other herbs that you like, and put that on some like toast on a charcuterie board. That's super delicious. So just wanted to throw a plug out there about mushrooms. I think they're really amazing, and not enough people utilize them in their diet. Super high protein. So.
Jeffrey, I'm so glad you sang the praises of mushrooms, because it was something I wanted to ask Cara about. You have a little mushroom farm over at your house, right?
Yeah, in my basement.
Cool.
Yeah. Casual. Yeah. My husband is, he's a trained neuroscience, a Harvard trained neuroscientist. And he has a passion for mushrooms. And so he
do those connect, the Harvard trained neuroscience and the mushrooms?
That's probably another show.
Okay. All right. We'll get to it.
It's a different kind of mushroom. He built a mushroom farm in our basement, and his specialty that he is working on is taking native varieties of mushrooms that he finds in the woods here in Vermont and cloning them. And the latest one was the hen of the wood mushroom. So all the hen of the wood mushrooms that he's been growing are native strains.
Wow.
Which is super cool, I think. Like, he's a smarty pants. So
very cool.
Yeah. So we eat a lot of mushrooms in our house because they're, around.
Plentiful.
Yeah, in the basement.
Do you ever incorporate those into the meals or the dishes that you're serving at Honey Road or the Grey Jay?
Yeah, we have them. He doesn't have any right this moment, but when he does, I have a very specific dish that I do with the mushrooms. It's roasted mushrooms in a spicy tahini sauce. It's very simple, but it's based on a Lebanese dish called samakara, which is fish in spicy tahini. And because mushrooms can sort of mimic that texture and not necessarily the flavor, but it's kind of I don't know, I feel like it pairs really nicely. And so it's mushrooms and spicy tahini, and then it's usually topped with toasted nuts and lots of herbs. And it's really simple, but it's really delicious.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Pete, you were the one who brought up bacon earlier, so I want to ask you about Jeffrey's idea to cook mushrooms as though they are bacon. What do you think? You're the meat guy. Would you go for it?
Yeah, I think it's great. I like mushrooms a lot. It made me think a lot about wild crafting, actually, and just this time of year, finally, that we have some rain, there's probably some mushrooms out there, or more of them than before. It might be getting a little too cold. But also it made me think a little bit about hunting season. And so there's probably, I don't know if anyone out there is out there hunting. Hopefully you get a deer and you can come back and you could incorporate that on your charcuterie board or your appetizer plate. You know, you could make pate out of some of the organ meat, or you could, slice up little medallions of the tenderloin and serve those, just coat them in butter and serve those as everyone's wetting their whistle early on in the meal. But I think that's also a good part of that New England tradition is a little bit of wild crafting. And, one is vegetarian option, which I fully embrace. I'm more of a fan of vegetables, not fake meat. Vegetables and beans, not fake meat. But then also it is hunting season, so take advantage of that. I think it fits well with the holiday season.
Well, if you want to learn more about cooking with wild game, you have to tune in to our show next week when we talk main courses. We have a chef who lives in Newport who's going to talk to us about making turkey rolls stuffed with bear or elk meat.
Yes.
It's going to be awesome, I promise. But before we have to wrap up, and I want to get back to the vegetarian conversation with you, Nurbu, because I know some of the momos that you all make are vegetarian. What are the vegetables that you're putting in those? And do you ever use mushrooms?
So we haven't used mushroom yet, but the vegan momo that we currently supply has cabbage and potatoes mainly. So it's pure, vegan. But we've been thinking about adding mushroom, and kind of funny that conversation came up. We've been doing some recipe work on that. So hopefully, down the road we can bring some item with the mushroom and such also.
How does your recipe development work? Are you the mastermind behind that, or do you have a team of folks who come up with your recipes?
My wife and myself, actually. Yeah. My wife comes up with these amazing recipes, and we try and we say yes or no, and then we actually bring it out to the farmers market as a test kitchen, so to speak, because we have a lot of regular customers that come by our booth, and they are very honest with us. They tell us hey, yes or no, and it's really a good way of getting a gauge of how the product is resonating with customers. That's what we did with our sauces, the mild hot. We only had mild and hot when we first started. We added the sesame flavor, and we brought it out to the Burlington Farmers Market as a test, and customers gives thumbs up, and did the same thing with maple. They gave us a thumbs up, and there were a few items that didn't make it, so we cut that back. We're thinking about kind of like a dessert momo as well so we're working out those recipes right now, so hopefully down the road we can bring some mushroom flavor, maybe some dessert momos as well.
Wow. And then briefly, Cara, do you have a most trusted recipe tester or a test subject that you give your new recipes to?
My husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's my biggest critic, and my he will tell me honestly if it's good or bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Always good to have an honest critic in your corner as well.
Yep.
Cara Tobin is the chef and co-owner of Honey Road and the Gray Jay in Burlington. Cara, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And Peter Colman is the founder of the company Vermont Salumi. Pete, thank you so much.
Michaela, thank you so much. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, me too. And Nurbu Sherpa is the founder of Sherpa Foods. You can find their momos in markets all around this region. Nurbu, thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Next week, tune in. We're talking main courses. We'll have lots of different vegan, vegetarian, and meat-focused options for you to use on your holiday tables. That is all the time that we have for today. Our show is directed by Aaliyah Papes. John Aarons is our managing producer. Andrea Lorian and Daniela Fierro are our producers. Our call screener today was Rick Barrett, and our theme music is by Myra Flynn. I'm Michaela Lafrac. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch up again soon.